Hi, it's Hans at happierman.com. Today's topic is Happier Man supplements. Well, this is kind of mid-January 2021, and it's cold. It's cold. It's Martin Luther King Jr. Day. I have day off from work. I'm going to get a good workout in. It's cold. It's a cold winter day. It's not terrible where I'm at, but it's really not that wonderful either. But supplements, like the things you take in addition to food to try to nourish yourself, right? So I'll just kind of get into some of the ones I take and why, and see if you have any value and why I think so, and where you might learn more about them. But I guess the first one is the vitamin D. That seems to be one of the most critical ones that you really have to take, that if you don't take, you probably have no real chance of staying healthy. Vitamin D, like in the winter, where I'm at here in the winter, like I talk all the time about, getting some healthy sun, but truthfully here where I'm at, the sun hasn't been out for at least a month. It might come out for maybe 10 minutes and then you're stuck, right? You might not have that 10 minutes to get out in the sun. So what do you do about sunshine if there's no sun? Well, you have to take the vitamin D supplements, and you should definitely go to wherever you get your pharmacy or your grocery store or online and get plenty of those. The experts in the vitamin D supplementation would tell you to take about 10,000 IUs of vitamin D3 a day every day, and that's what I try to do. I'll take usually when you buy these things, it'll be pretty prominent on the bottle whether it's 1,000 IUs or 10 or 2,000 IUs or 500 IUs. And of course, if you're trying to take 10 and there are 1,000 IUs each, you got to take 10 in a day. That's a lot of pills, right? I usually break mine up. I take a number of things right away in the morning, and then I take a number of things with a meal later in the day, kind of space it out. But the 10,000. So yeah, in the summertime, if I know I'm, getting plenty of sun, then I'll back that down. I won't take so many of those pills. I'll stretch them out. Don't got to buy them so often, because I know I'm getting out in the sun, and I make it a point to get out in the sun in the summertime when there's sun, or when there's sun available. Even in the winter, fall or spring, yeah, I'll still get out in the sun and try to, that's ideal. Ideal, if you want to be healthy, you'd get in the sun half hour a day if there was sun available, with your shirt off and in shorts and all of that. But vitamin D, yeah, you'll find if you take plenty of vitamin D, you're probably not going to get as sick as if you don't. If you don't take any vitamin D in the wintertime, I would say you're more than likely going to get sick, and probably severely sick. So just take the vitamin D, right? Just take it, get a bunch of it, take the 10,000 a day, do some research on it. Just go ahead and research your normal sites, your WebMDs and your doctor-related sites. They're probably not going to say much about vitamin D, because then you wouldn't be getting sick as much. Your doctoring, they probably aren't going to push the vitamin D. It's going to be the people who believe more in trying to stay healthy that would suggest you take vitamin D. So that's what I suggest, and that's what I do. The vitamin D, start with that. The next one is the big one is the vitamin C. That it goes hand in hand with the vitamin D. We used to be, you're supposed to drink a lot of eat oranges and have a lot of vitamin C that way. Turns out the the food with the most vitamin C is red sauerkraut. So you got to have the red cabbage, and then they have to make it into red cabbage sauerkraut. Of course, I can't find this darn red sauerkraut anywhere. I've been trying like heck to find it. I can't have it. So I get the regular sauerkraut, which isn't as vitamin C filled, but it's still good. And then I think lemons, and there's a few other things, and then oranges down there. So I mean, the orange juice idea, I mean, that had validity to help you get the vitamin C, but I would just get the pills, get the supplement pills. Yeah, and you got to budget for all these darn supplements. They don't give them away. The kind that are the cheapest, well, they're cheap because they're not as good. So you got to spend a little more to get the better quality, and you have to do your own research on what's good quality or not. And then the amount of vitamin C. Well, how do you know if you're taking enough? Well, if you're getting sick, even though you're taking it, you're not taking enough. Because if you take enough vitamin C and enough vitamin D, you're not going to get as sick as readily as if you don't. So lay in a good supply. I like now vitamin C is measured in a different way than vitamin D. You know, it's the milligrams, and I'm upset with how everything is measured these days in a way to confuse. So you got to do your own thing on this, but I think you want quite a few thousand MC or G's of the vitamin C. Do your own research on this, but you know, the vitamin C usually is going to come in 500. You know, the big number on it will be 500 or 1,000 or 2,000 or maybe 250 or 125. So you got to do your own research. You know, go to more of a health food type of website that kind of believes in the idea of, you know, trying to stay healthy rather than treating sickness, and try to get some guidance on there. If I write an article about this, I'll try to link to some of the better sources. But since this is your health, it ought to be you doing your own research on this. I'm just pointing out, it seems obvious that you need plenty of vitamin C, and the way you tell that you're having enough is you don't get sick. There is a point, though, when you take vitamin C, the vitamin C itself will kind of tip you over. It'll kind of make you go to the bathroom too much after the number 2. So that's kind of like this tipping point where you don't want. So you want to, I would, you know, even though I'm kind of more eating meat, I still get I like a little sauerkraut here and there. And I always am having vitamin C in the morning before, you know, I don't really eat that hardly anything in the morning, so I have some vitamin C and D in the morning, and then I'll have some more vitamin C with my meal later in the day. Kind of the next one on the list is like this fish oil. Now the fish oil, it's kind of good for your skin. It's good for, I guess it's oily, so it's kind of helping your joints feel better, a little slipperier, I guess. Maybe a little less inflammation. You got to take plenty of this darn fish oil too, and that's kind of my third one that I take in the morning, and I take some more at night. Again, the amounts, if I write an article about this, I'll try to give you some amounts, but that's the kind of research. Certainly, it usually comes in a great big bottle, and these are great big pills, and you want to have probably 1 or 2 of these big pills in the morning, and then another 1 or 2 later in the day. Now the fish oil is different than the cod liver oil. I think the cod liver oil has vitamin D in it also, but the fish oil does not. All the supplement stuff is very, very, very interesting, and I would if I were you, I'd spend some time kind of doing your own research on these supplements and then coming up with a game plan for yourself. Yeah, because if you live in a tropical area and you're in the sun all the time, well, you don't need to bother with the vitamin D. But if you're in a northern climate, ooh, man, you better get going on that. And if you're eating sauerkraut twice a day, well, you probably don't gotta bother with the vitamin C. But who's gonna do that, right? The sauerkraut, it really isn't that tasty that I want to be eating it all the time. It's just one, a couple times a week, maybe. And I like these the supplements because I'm trying to be on a more meat-based diet, less sugar and then anything having to do with sugar I'm trying to cut down. Well, then you gotta have supplements, right? You gotta have supplements because you're not taking in a balanced amount of stuff. So those are kind of my big three. Another one I try to take is magnesium. That has to do with your heart health, and that's of course important. And I just take a little bit of that. Another one is zinc. Zinc apparently is very, very healthy for you. So I do get zinc and try to put that in my mealtime supplement. And like I don't go overboard with all these extra supplements. I just take one each, whatever they come in. As I am, trying to eat plenty of meat, and I'm thinking that the bulk of my diet is I'm kind of covering myself. I just want a little bit of insurance. Another one, the zinc. The zinc is funny. If you take the zinc at the wrong time, it's kind of hard on your belly. It kind of upsets your stomach. So that isn't that pleasant. So I usually will have that zinc with the meal. You don't want to have that without a meal. But a tip with zinc is it's very, very good for helping you with colds and flu symptoms. So you got to get like zinc lozenges that you suck if you ever are feeling run down and getting coughs, runny nose, sneezing. Then you're going to need to get that zinc lozenges. And you should get all this stuff kind of ahead of time. You don't want to be sick and then have to go to the drugstore and get there and find out it's all sold out, right? Because in the winter time, all the zinc lozenges will be sold out. All the vitamin C and all the vitamin D will be sold out, right? You'll have to order it online. It'll be there late. It'll take 2 weeks. By the time it gets there, you're finally better, right? So the zinc. So let's say trying to get zinc, I guess it's from the shellfish and the shrimp and all of that, oysters, but I like all that stuff, but it's kind of a pain in the butt to prepare yourself. So I don't really do it that much. Beef and pork are kind of the simplest things to prepare, so that's what I do. But I do like to eat that kind of food if when I go out to eat and when I get a chance. But anyway, another supplement, what do they say, is magnesium, zinc, iodine. Iodine is fairly important. In fact, there was not that long ago, I was doing some doctoring with thyroid issues, and the doctor there suggested plenty of iodine, and I started doing that. Now you'll say, well, the iodine is in the salt. Well, if you're cooking your own food and salting your meat with like sea salt, the sea salt doesn't have any iodine in it. So you're going to have to get the iodine from some other source. So give that idea some thought. So those are kind of the big supplements that, just in pill form. Some of the other things I take, creatine. I try to take some, like these 5 I don't know how to call it. It's the 5 units a day, and that kind of helps. It kind of makes your muscles a little bit puffier, I guess. It makes you feel a little better. It's not really a protein source, but it does seem to help you with your strength and your muscle size. cider vinegar. That seems to help a little bit. That particular thing, you're supposed to have a lot of acid in your stomach. That's what breaks things down, and I think that's where some people go wrong is thinking that they want to get rid of the acid in their stomach, but it's really that they need more acid. But that's a whole nother topic. All this stuff, you might want to check out Dr. Eric Berg. He's a chiropractor by profession, but more of on YouTube, talking about eating, supplements, that kind of thing. Very, very informative. I think he comes from the idea of how do you stay healthy rather than treating the sickness. And that's kind of what I love about chiropractors. They seem to be better at that, trying to stay healthy rather than treating the illness that you already have. Branched chain amino acids. I usually like to take a little bit of that right before a workout. I think it gives you a little bit of a pep, and you probably need it. And I don't really take it that much. It's just mostly before a weight training workout. And I think those are my main supplements. And to make this, to do this easiest, I have one of these 7 compartment little week-long pill container, kind of like an old person has all their pills, but I'm still consider myself a young person, so I don't put my medications in this because I don't take any, but I put my supplements in here. So, I measure out, however many I think I'm going to take, fill up the week, and that way I don't have to keep measuring these darn things out every day. Which is a kind of a pain. Although what I do is in the morning I get out my vitamin C, my vitamin D, and my fish oil. Take however many I want, swallow that down with a big glass of water, and that's what I have in the morning. I make my coffee, and then I do that. That's the ritual. And then I'll do that, and then I'll have another glass of water, and I'll mix up my creatine and my apple cider vinegar, and that's my second glass of water. So I get kind of immediately hydrated in the morning. I take a good chunk of my supplements first thing in the morning, and then I'll have my morning coffee whenever it gets brewed up, right? That way I get the bulk of this stuff done in the morning, and then in my later afternoon or evening meal, I'll have the rest of the supplements from that container. So I probably should get one more container for the morning, and that would be even more organized. I'll try to make a note to do that for myself, but that would get you even more organized, so you don't got to keep futzing with these darn bottles all the time. I'm probably going to end this here, except with one more thing or two, is what you don't use as supplements. What I find is if you can cut way, way, way back on anything sugary, you're probably not going to get as sick as if you don't. I just think back to some of the most severely sick times I ever was, let's say, in the first week or so of January, after I spent that Christmas time just gorging on junk food. Cookies. Christmas cookies, Christmas candy, Christmas-related sweets. The biggest problem with all that kind of sugary food, that will run you down and get you sick almost faster than anything else. Of course, I was probably drinking heavily too, partying and having a great time. But I think if you're going to party with alcohol, don't have any sugar. And so I was doing both, getting run down. I think if you can severely restrict your sugar, you're going to be a lot healthier, along with all these different supplements. And if you're, like, say, going overboard on the sugar, you better just go overboard on the supplements, trying to overcome them. You know, and I love the desserts, certainly the rich foods, the rich sugary stuff. I love all that. I always have. I find it hard to believe that anybody wouldn't like it, but maybe if you go long enough, you lose your taste for it. But the limiting factor on my enjoyment of the junk food is the cost, right? So let's say if you go to like a nice coffee shop, not really a Starbucks, but let's say a Panera or like an old-fashioned coffee shop, they're probably going to have some really rich desserts to enjoy with your coffee. And you'll find that these darn desserts are so blasted expensive, you really don't want to get your fill of them. You don't really want to get your fill of them because they're so expensive, right? By the time, if you eat your fill of these desserts plus that expensive coffee, it'd probably be cheaper to get a nice big steak dinner. So the limiting factor on that is the cost of that dessert. But what happens at Christmas time? Everybody's feeling generous. They're making all these fantastically rich desserts, and they're sharing them, and they're bringing them, and there's plate full of this stuff all over everywhere you go. You go to work, people are bringing stuff every day, and you go to holiday parties, it's all there. And at that point, you can eat all that stuff that you really want until you're pretty much full of it. And that's always going to be a lot more than one piece. So, moving forward, I would like to not eat so much of that just to limit how much I get sick. But yeah, that excessive sugar, if you could just have eat hardly any sugar, you're naturally gonna reduce the necessity of needing all these supplements. But I would get the supplements. I would get yourself a nice plan in a nice organized fashion, so you don't gotta spend half an hour a day fueling with these stupid bottles. You might want to get a good multi. You might want to do some research on a health related website about what might be the best bet for you, and just do it and budget it. And it's going to cost, probably going to add up to nearly another $100 a month, maybe even more, depending on what you think your needs are. Certainly it's not going to be free. It's not going to be free at all. But so give that idea some thought. Get your supplements together. You need them so you don't get sick. So far, I haven't got sick for quite some time. So I'm enjoying that. So I'm going to continue to supplement. All for now.